Good morning, everybody. Welcome to our Curry Supply live demo virtual event. My name is Mark Laborde. I'm Director of National Accounts for Curry Supply.
My name is Patrick Keelan. I'm a National Account Manager here at Curry Supply as well.
So today we're going to be live demoing our crash attenuator. It's one of the hottest selling commodities we have in our industry, and it's the pride of our highway safety line. Some of the things we're going to be going over today, we're going to talk about the truck. Pat's going to talk about the bed. Then we're going to go to the actual crash cushion. We're going to describe what that is, how that works, some standard operating procedures on impact, how to get it repaired, where to get it repaired, and then Pat's going to come up and show you how to actually operate the truck. Pat?
Thank you, Mark. As Mark mentioned, we're pretty excited about our opportunity to discuss the crash attenuator with everyone today. It's sort of one of our fastest growing product lines within our highway safety department lines. As you can see, we're doing this product line on an F750 diesel chassis. We are chassis agnostic. We can do it on a gas option as well. The truck right now is rated at 25,999, so the truck is under CDL. The truck does have a minimum requirement on the weight, so the truck does have to weigh 20,000 pounds on the truck. So right now at 25,999, you're currently with about just shy of 6,000 pounds of payload capacity. You do have some options to go to a 33,000 pound chassis to give you some extra payload if you need to. I think it's sort of important a little bit to sort of talk about how the crash attenuator came into the Curry Supply product line. Back in 2016, we had a client that had some issues with one of their current vendors in providing a superior product within the industry across the United States. Through our engineering and management team, we were able to, through trial and error and some demos and putting the product line in the field, we're able to come out with the superior product that we have now, that is now known as the Curry Supply Crash Attenuator. And that's something that we here at Curry Supply, we do pride ourselves in. We don't want to just be that vendor where you're calling and supplying trucks. We want to be that total partner, that total solution. And I think that's a prime example of how we can add a total solution to your business. As I mentioned, the attenuator does have to weigh 20,000 pounds. To achieve that 20,000 pounds, what we had to do is we had to put a concrete ballast in the substructure of the flatbed. It's not something that you can see. It's securely fastened underneath the flatbed. So you don't have to worry about if the truck is impacted or anything like that of the concrete ballast coming forward or possibly going through the cab.
And Pat, that's a good point. Some of our competitors they won't put the ballast, the weight in the subframe. What they'll actually do is they'll stack steel plates up here and bolt them to the deck. Well, as anybody knows, on impact, those bolts are probably going to shear and that can become a projectile into the cab. That's why we do the weighted in our subframe.
Yeah, great point, Mark. As you can see, we do a 16-foot flatbed. And the reason why we do a flatbed on a crash attenuator is because the truck does serve a dual purpose out in the construction site. One purpose is it can be a cone setting machine, which you can see here. We have baskets on each side of the truck, or it can be used for a crash attenuator. And when we say the word crash attenuator, basically what that means is the truck's designed to sit on a job site, just the way it is right now, deployed, and it's to protect any type of personnel, structures, or vehicles in front of the truck. So basically a distracted driver would hit this truck. It can take an impact up to 62.5 miles per hour without moving the truck. And it would, in fact, to be honest with you, it almost barely do any damage to the truck. That Scorpion would take the complete impact. So either it can be done as a crash attenuator or it can be as a cone setting. And to do cone setting, we have a 36-inch man basket on each side. Mark's going to open up the man baskets. We have a door on each side. All the doors, the sticks, and the body the flatbed are all powder coated. The bed is a Line-X grip for safety. We have on the 36-inch man basket, we do have mezzanine grading right here. We do high yellow vids on all the important parts because we want to make sure that this truck does stand out on the job site. We do mezzanine grading to make sure that there's no debris or dirt in the cavity itself, so there's no tripping hazard. We do have a light stationed in the cavity as well to illuminate it at night if you're doing any type of cone setting. We also have a D-ring here. One thing that Curry Supply is very strict on and that we like to incorporate a lot about is our safety that we implement on our product line. So we do have a D-ring. That way, if you do have a personnel standing within the cavity here, they can tie off to prevent them from falling out. Another thing that we like to talk about is our grab handles. We try to maintain 3 points of contact at all times while getting in and out of the load space. So if you're getting up, you hold on, you have an extra step, you can get up into the load space, and this is where you're going to be setting your cones, any type of barrels that you have, any type of signs. They can all be stored inside the flatbed. Something that we like to talk about is the truck can only be used as one purpose at a time. So if you are doing cone setting, you can only do cone setting with this truck. You can have the attenuator down. However, if you're going to use it as a crash cushion for impact, you would have to have a pilot vehicle behind it, following behind it. So you can only do one setting or the other. So like I said, if you're doing a cone setting, this is where you'd be currently utilizing it at. Inside the load space, we do have some safety lighting in here. We have 2 LED lights right here, one on this side, there's one as well as one right here. Those are on the factory upfitter switches located inside the cab. We have 4 strobes mounted on this truck. We have 2 on the bulkhead and 2 on the rear, which we're going to also review here shortly. And then we have a solar panel here. This solar panel is sole purpose is to power our 25 light Wanko aeroboard. Which we're going to let's go review that right now, and we'll discuss a little bit more about the solar panel in the Wanko. Moving back to the truck, you do see that we do also have some more lighting on the truck. A lot of these trucks are used at nighttime, so we do want to illuminate as much as we can. We do have 3 lights located on each side. They are independently controlled. Each side's independently controlled by an upfitter switch inside the cab. So we talked about the solar panel on top of the bulkhead to run this 25 light aeroboard. And I think it's important we talk about why we use a 25 light aeroboard compared to I would say, some of our competitors are using 15 light aeroboards. And the main purpose is we notice due to our clients' needs, these trucks do cross over state boundaries, state lines. And some states might require a 15 light where that's suitable in that state regulation. Other states might require 25. So here at Curry Supply, what we do is we build our trucks to meet or exceed all 50 state requirements. For instance, so we do a 25 light aeroboard. That way you do not have to worry about if the truck crosses the line, if that truck is suitable in that state. We talked about the solar panel on top of the bulkhead. What that's doing is it's powering the aeroboard itself. This aeroboard is not tied into the chassis at all. And the reason why we do that is sort of an out of sight, out of mind. What we do is when this is behind the truck and you're finishing up for the day and you happen to leave it on because you don't see it, you're not draining the chassis battery. Where you get up to go to work the next day to move the truck, the chassis is dead. That solar panel charges the battery located here underneath the aeroboard, and it just does a full cycle system. So that battery here runs the aeroboard. When the aeroboard does get low, the solar panel will kick on and start charging the system. That's the aeroboard. One thing I do want to talk that's a little bit unique about Curry Supply is we do have a 1-button setup. And the reason why we talk about that is because a lot of our competitors, they do a 2-button system, which we're going to show you shortly. But when you lower this aeroboard down, the Scorpion does fold up over the aeroboard. So it's actually sitting on top of the aeroboard. And what would happen is if you push the wrong button, the aeroboard could actually go up and impact the Scorpion. And Mark's going to talk about the SOPs if this does get impacted. So what we want to do is simplify the process, especially if you're getting multiple drivers on this truck, where we do a 1-button system inside the cab. So if you wanted to deploy the attenuator, you push 1 button and it will lower the attenuator first, and then it will raise the aeroboard. Yep. So that's the part of the truck itself here. I believe Mark's going to take over here and talk about the crash cushions and how they operate.
Yeah, we want to talk about why we selected Scorpion. We're going to talk about some of the components, the strut and the box systems, as well as best practices, why we do what we do. Pat had mentioned earlier the SOP, or the standard operating procedure, of post-accident and post-impact. And then I'm going to go through some options that we offer as well. Again, this is our standard. So Scorpion is made in San Clemente, California by Trafix Devices. You're going to see basically 2 major components to the unit itself. You're going to see these side struts, and you're going to see these boxes. So again, the aluminum boxes are it's a honeycomb pattern, extruded aluminum inside. And what that does is that's really the bread and butter of how this saves lives. These cushions, you're going to see on a standard cushion, you've probably seen them on in the state that you live in, on the side of the road, where it's a perfect rectangle. You'll see that this is an 8 shape pattern. And what that does, this is proprietary to Traffics. What that does is on impact, instead of having the inertia of the impact go back into the frame of the chassis or the frame of the Scorpion, it actually takes that inertia from impact and takes it and spreads it out to the sides. That's why these are like this. This Scorpion bar, believe it or not, will actually come out here, and that's taking that initial inertia from the impact and spreading it out. A big thing on the boxes, you're going to see that this is a MASH certified Scorpion. That means the manual for assessing safety hardware. And not to get too technical, but there's basically two standards in the industry. There's the NHC RP350 and the MASH. The MASH is the best in class safety standards. Again, I don't want to get too technical. OEM manufacturers, you know, Chrysler, GM, Ford, Dodge, are making heavier vehicles. The 350 was for vehicles 10 years ago. The MASH certified is for vehicles that are made at OEMs today. You're going to see 4 parts or 4 different cushions. This is your A cushion, which has your chevron. In the state of Texas, you're going to have a red and white chevron, where most other states are the black and gold chevron. You're going to have 2 dual C cushions. This is a C cushion here, C cushion, and then your big cushion is called your D cushion. It's important to note these are all serialized so that on impact we can actually reference what boxes are damaged and what boxes we're replacing for recertification. I do want to talk a little bit about best practices again. So if you, like Pat had mentioned earlier, if your fleet is fluid and you're going from state to state, you can have issues with taking it from Florida to New Jersey, from New York to Texas. We want to make sure that if you do have a fluid fleet and you are winning jobs throughout the country, that we can take this truck into any state. This truck here meets the New Jersey standard spec. It's a 20,000 pound laden weight chassis with a MASH certified Scorpion and a 25 light aero board. There's multiple variances within each state, and this meets or exceeds the best in practice at each one of those states. So for a standard operating procedure post-impact, we want to make sure that you're aware if you do have this in your fleet, whether you're renting it, you own it, and you're managing it yourself, how do we take care of this after the impact? So after impact, you need to bring it to one of the 3 Curry locations, our headquarters in Curryville, Pennsylvania, our Deer Park, Texas location, or our brand new facility here in beautiful Arizona. Each one is CAP certified, which is only through Scorpion Devices. We're one of 26 shops in the US that are certified to repair a Scorpion in-house. And basically what we're going to do is take a whole bunch of different measurements of the Scorpion. We're going to send it to Traffics with a recommended list based on our certification to repair it. And then they're going to approve it and okay the parts. We're going to go ahead and send the customer the quote at that time, and then we'll move forward from there. A couple things, it does come standard with brake lights, and Pat had mentioned a camera system earlier up front with the monitor. This does have a dual camera system standard. So the Scorpion itself is 13 feet 8 inches when fully deployed. We want to make sure, again, safety is paramount at Curry Supply. We want to make sure that you do have visibility when you are backing up, if you do need to back up when it is deployed. You can drive the vehicle at 30 miles per hour with the Scorpion deployed as it sits right now. There is another camera, which we'll show you here when Pat stows the vehicle, that's underneath the D-box, and what that does is as the Scorpion's deployed, again, you have a camera available to you. The nice thing about that is whether the Scorpion's up or down, you have visibility in a backup camera. It automatically switches. You don't need to worry about anything like that. Another thing I want to mention is the jack stands. We can come over here. So you'll see 2 sets of jack stands. There's one of these on each side, and then there's one up front here as well. This is only for install. These are not to be deployed or engaged when the truck is actually in use. If the Scorpion's down, we want to make sure that if you have a new operator, a new driver that is running this, that I highly recommend that you detach these and keep them in your shop, and detach the ones up front here as well. Again, they're not to be deployed. They will rip off, and they have a high likelihood of damaging either the strut tubes or the box, and then you would have to repair it. We talked about the dual camera system. Some of the options that you have, as I mentioned earlier, we do have options. This is our standard setup. You can get a message board instead of an arrow board. You can get a message and an arrow board, and they'd be stationary on like a cone truck that we offer as well. You can get a lift gate. They do have side lift gates that are up in the front that we've installed for customers in New York City specifically. And then you also have the option for a radar system or a sign cage. And I'll walk you up front here. The sign cage actually goes right behind the cab here. You'd actually remove this section of stake, and the sign cage would mount here. The nice thing about that is because these are doors and not stake sides, the old design that we had when we first came out with it, this was a stake pocket. You had to lift this out. We had a storage rack over here that the operator had to use and stow the side gate. Now this is a much more functional apparatus and ease of use. The nice thing about that is this is a pillar. It's not a stake. It's bolted to the bed right here. So you can add the sign cage and not have to worry about either removing the stake side or trying to figure out how to do that. We're going to come to the back here, and Pat's going to actually put the Scorpion up so you can actually see how it works. And again, remember, when he's doing this, he's doing it with one button. There's not dual buttons. We're going to show you how it takes about 40 seconds to stow the unit, and then what we're going to do is we're going to have you go up and actually see it live. Pat's going to walk you through the operation of the unit itself. But let's stand back here. Go ahead, Pat, and stow the Scorpion. The camera that you're going to see when the Scorpion is stowed in the stowed position. Okay, Pat, do you want to go show them how to run it now?
Sure. Mark, did you talk about how the arrow board here with the Scorpion being over? So as we talked a little bit earlier today, while this was in the down position, the arrow board, as you can see, is stowed down with the Scorpion currently going over. And this is where we talk about that one button system definitely simplifying the process. So this arrow board will not go up and cannot hit those tubes until this attenuator is fully deployed. Once this attenuator is fully deployed, that is when the arrow board will go up. And the reason why we harp on that is because we notice that there's a lot of different operators in these trucks, so we wanted to simplify the process as much as possible and eliminate as much downtime as well. So I'm going to go ahead and inside the cab. If you want to go on the driver's side, we'll take a look at the operations inside. Inside of our attenuator, heater bill, any OEM that you prefer. This is sort of the setup that you're going to currently see. We have 3 different options here that currently operate the attenuator. The first one here is our camera system, and as Mark mentioned, we have 2 cameras currently on our truck now. This is a stock feature that this is how the trucks come automatically. Right now there's a camera on the back of the truck that Mark just showed, and then when the attenuator deploys, it will automatically switch over to that camera system. We do have some other options on the camera availabilities. 2 cameras standard. We do have the option to go to a 5 camera system, which does show some cameras in the load space. We can do a camera facing out. We can do another camera facing in. So we do have some options, and then we also do have options of DVR recording of the cameras as well as live LTE broadband to display the live camera action to a corporate office if needed. So that is an option for the cameras. The next box that you're going to see here, this is our operation of our arrow board, and it's a very simplified process. You have currently 12 preset settings that you can currently turn on to. The off and on button is right here in the top right hand corner. Turn it off or on. And it might be a little bit hard for you guys to see, but there are 3 buttons down here on the bottom of this box. And basically these 3 buttons are basically to let you know what is going on with the aero. So the first one's going to be low voltage and the batteries are charged. So that would be the aero board's been on for a while. Say it's been on all night and now the sun's just coming up and it's starting to charge the solar panel. That one would be lit. Low voltage shutting down. That might be there would be an issue. Say the truck was running, wasn't out in the sun at all to charge the solar panel. Low voltage shutting down so it would not be operating. And the third one is blinking. That's the one that's going to be on normally all the time. And it's just letting you know that everything's working operable and the batteries are charging. Now, again, we talked a lot about the 1-button system. This is the system that we talked about. And it's currently up and down. And the way to reference it is basically, how do you want the aero board to go? So if I want the aero board to go up and the attenuator to go down, I would hit the up button. If I want to do the opposite, I would hit the opposite button. Very simplified process. As Mark talked about, it takes about 40 seconds to deploy it down or up. Some other features I want to talk about that's located in every truck, just not our crash attenuator structure, is going to be a black box like this with Recertification. And inside this box, we're going to have a couple papers, and I think it's important to talk about while we have you guys here. One is a warranty card, and this is basically just to let you know, let us know where the truck's at, who's the contact, if there's any nearby dealers, if it's a chassis issue, we know who to refer you to. We want to try to simplify the process as much as possible if you incur any type of downtime on the truck. Another paper that's going to be located in this box is going to be an operations instructions. We put this in every truck to make sure that any operator that gets in this truck knows how to operate it, and it's laminated with step-by-step instructions on how to operate, as well as if there's any additional accessories on the truck, how to operate those as well. And the third piece of paper that I would like to discuss is just basically our parts manual. If the truck gets into an accident or you need to replace a light, we have it broken down by part numbers, so that way you can just reference a part number to our parts division, Current Fluid Power, and out of one of the 3 locations that we have across the United States, can get you parts expedited. We do this just to make sure to eliminate as much downtime as possible, but these manuals are inside each truck. That way, if you do get a truck and the operator does not know how to operate it, we do have the instructions located inside. This is the crash attenuator that Curry Supply currently offers in the industry. We appreciate your time with us today. We'd like to open it now up to questions to see if we can help you guys answer anything that you might have. So as Mark mentioned, if you want to leave a comment for us or have a question, go ahead and I believe sign the guest book.
Sign the guest book and make a comment. We know some people are already using the comment section, and we appreciate that. If you do have any questions, we know we covered a lot of information here this morning. We do value your time, and we don't want to take up the full hour. We'd be more than happy to answer any questions, concerns, comments that you might have. But we do appreciate you taking time out of your day to come and do this virtual live event.
There was one thing that I wanted to touch base on that I realized that we kind of forgot about. We did talk about if this body was to go on a gas chassis. Currently, this F750 is a diesel truck with air brakes. Mm-hmm. If it were to go to an F650 gas chassis, that chassis would have hydraulic brakes. So how do we accommodate the braking system to withhold an impact of 62.5 miles per hour? So what we do is, located between the seat, between the driver and passenger seat, inside the cab, you're going to notice a little red button. And we call this a Myco lock system. So basically what we're doing is putting a one-way check valve on the hydraulic brake system. And all you simply do is pull up on that, a horn will sound, you apply a little pressure to the brakes to engage the Myco lock, then that basically adds a secondary assurance of braking power for a gas chassis. Very easy to operate.
Absolutely. I do understand we have 2 questions.
Couple questions. First question, can I get a message board and an aero board?
So there is an option. The question was, can I get a message board and an aero board? There is an option for that. Basically what we do is we extend the frame, and you're going to have two different, you're going to have the aero board or the message board lift, but then the other one would be stationary. The aero board is required to be 7 feet off the ground at the bottom. So we could extend the frame and have one stationary bolted, and then the other one would be the adjustable one on the hydraulic cylinders.
Second question from the audience, what types of brakes are required on the chassis?
So the question was, what type of brakes are required on the chassis? Pat did mention that on the diesel units, they all come standard with air brakes. So that is a requirement that you do have air brakes. And the other option, if you do go gas, is the micro-lock system that Pat talked about. It actually overrides pretty much the braking system on the hydraulics and locks them into place. So that is a requirement so that the unit doesn't roll forward.
Another question is about Curry Supply's distribution, where all you can ship trucks from and where your inventory is located at.
Okay, the next question was basically our inventory and shipping locations, where we build trucks at. So again, we did mention that we have our corporate office in Curryville, Pennsylvania. We do have another location 20 minutes away from there where most of our Pennsylvania crash attenuators are built. We have our location in Deer Park or Houston, Texas as well. Again, that is a CAP certified and install center for crash attenuators. And then the third is our brand new flagship out here on the West Coast in Phoenix, Arizona, that we're proud to be here today to show you guys everything.
Another question, you mentioned the ballast system and it being secured in the subframe. Can you explain how?
Yeah, the next question was, how do we secure the ballast on the subframe? So if you can zoom in here, we can actually show you. So the ballast is right here. It's an 8-inch subframe, U-box subframe. We pour the concrete in there, and then we mount bolts to the frame, and then this plate is welded onto the subframe, and then we bolt that on. And then the deck, the flatbed itself is a separate system where we bolt that onto the subframe. So you're going to come up, there's going to be the U-channel, this weld tab, and then you're going to have another elbow coming out where we bolt the bed to the actual subframe. That's how we do our counterbalance.
Another question, are all the boards Wonko?
Specifically for the customer, we can do other boards, but Wonko is our standard stock spec.
Do you provide an engineering certificate?
Yeah, so the next question was, do we provide engineering certificates? We absolutely do. That can be either at point of order or after the fact. You don't have to ask for it up front, but if you know you're going to need it down the road, if you're going into a state where crash attenuators are highly used, Texas, Florida, the Carolinas, basically up into Massachusetts. If you're in one of those states, New York, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Maryland, you probably should ask for it ahead of time.
We have another question. When does the crash attenuator need to be recertified?
So the question was, when do we need recertification? We highly recommend, from a liability standpoint, lawyers today put a $9 million price tag on a life. We highly recommend that you get it recertified every year. That's just a simple standard inspection that we would do, just as it's the same exact inspection that we would do on a post-incident or post-damaged Scorpion. We bring in it, take the measurements, send it to Traffics with a recommended list. You have a little bit of give. The rear of the Scorpion has to be 12 inches off the ground, plus or minus 1 inch. And then there's some variances within a ½ inch on the boxes and the strut tubes.
Another question about, back to your inventory. Are these crash trucks stocked in your inventory, or do you need to order?
So that's a good question. It was, what about our stocking inventory? We do stock these standard. We do have units in inventory right now. We do have more units coming in, depending on your chassis preference. So we're chassis agnostic, but we do typically stock Freightliners, Internationals, Fords. I know we have some Pete's coming in, as well as some Kenworths.
Mark, I think this would be a good time to talk about the preparation Curry Supply has been doing for the chassis shortages that we've been seeing throughout the industry. Did you want to touch base about that a little bit?
Yeah, so I'm not sure if everybody that's viewing this is aware. The OEMs have definitely had delays due to chip shortages, due to parts delays, due to COVID, due to plant shutdowns, and we're very keen and aware of those shortages. So Curry's been always progressive in the fact that we do order trucks for inventory, for customer needs, as well as work on customer supplied chassis. So we have a few hundred, 600-700 trucks coming in the next 90 days. We do have a couple hundred trucks on the ground now, pending what you're looking for, whether it's a water truck that we're going to be talking about here this afternoon, or it's a crash attenuator, mechanics truck, any one of our different product lines.
Related to that, can you talk about lead time for a crash truck?
If it's in inventory and it's the chassis, okay, sorry. The question was, I know you guys can't hear that. I know the question was, what is lead time right now? So if it's an in-inventory stock item, that's not a problem. If it's our standard spec and it's a Ford, we can get it to you here within 10 business days. If it's an ordered item that we don't currently have coming in, if it's a special chassis that you want, it would be based on the OEM. OEMs right now are anywhere from 14 to 24 weeks out right now on new orders.
A couple more questions. Are the racks removable?
So the question was, are the racks removable? Absolutely. There's 8 racks the whole way around the truck. They are removable. As I mentioned, we do just have bolts here to secure the racks. The main reason why we do that is because a lot of clients might not remove the rack, so we just put a bolt there to help tighten them down, just so that they're not constantly rattling. But yes, they are 100% removable, and you could set them to the side.
Another question related to cameras. How many cameras can I get added onto the truck if I wanted to add a camera so I could see the bed of the truck to make sure nobody is working off of it?
So the question is, how many cameras can you add to the truck? Currently, all of our stock trucks have 2 cameras on it now, and that's basically for all reversing purposes, whether the attenuator stowed or deployed. You do have an option to go up to 5 cameras, I believe, on these trucks as an add-on, and we can place them however you would like to. If you want to do driver, how the driver's acting inside the cab, and if they're on their phone or distracted driving, we can put it inside the cab. If you want to put one in the load space facing this way, or we can also mount one in the back facing this way so you can get at all angles. The camera system, we can kind of put them however you would like and whatever you would like to see. And we do have the options of a DVR system, which would be mounted underneath the passenger seat in the front, or we do have the option as well as where if you wanted to do live feed, an LTE broadband where it would shoot live feed to someone sitting at an office or anything like that to view live data.
Yeah, and just so we're clear, the standard 5 camera system that we do offer is the 2 on the Scorpion itself. There's one that is load space facing, there's one driver facing, and then there's one forward facing, so you can see if there is an impact in front of the vehicle.
Related to features that you can order, can you order these with double wide man buckets?
So the question was, can you order them with double wide man buckets? Right now our standard crash attenuator, the 16-footer, is a 36-inch man basket. We do have a 20-foot cone truck that is specifically designed to deploy cones, where the Scorpion, again, Pat had talked about earlier, that you cannot deploy and use the crash cushion at the same time. So you can't be setting cones and using the cushion. Typically what you'll have happen is the Scorpion, you'll use this truck here as the lead device, and then you'll have a cone truck in front where we do have 60-inch man baskets.
If the TMA is hit, do I need to replace the entire unit?
So the question is, if the TMA is hit, do you have to replace the entire unit? And the answer is no. It all depends on how bad the hit was done. We've seen where, just a side tube would possibly be dented or increased. We'll take the appropriate measurements, and if it's just the replacement of the side tube, we'll just replace the side tube. If it's just, what we see a lot in the industries is more or less sometimes the very last cushion, what we call is the A cushion, kind of gets just damaged being sitting around. A forklift might back into it, someone might back into the cushion. We'll take some measurements and we can just replace the cushion. Like Mark mentioned, they all are serialized, so that way we take the responsibility in traffics as well when we replace that, and we update it in the system to let them know that there was a cushion damage, it was properly disposed of, and a new cushion with this serial tag is on it. If the attenuator wasn't a very massive hit, where it was unsalvageable, we would probably most likely replace the whole unit, and very, very rare do we actually have any damage to the truck, so it would just be a bolt-on, bolt-off application.
The next question is, when you stow the TMA, is there a way to lock it down so it doesn't bounce when driving down the highway?
So the question was, is there a way, when you stow the TMA the way it's currently now, is there a way to lock it down so it's not bouncing down the highway? So what we recommend is when you actually do lower it, to hold the down button for 2 to 3 seconds after it's currently on the cradle. And what that does is it's going to pressurize the system and put hydraulic pressure down on that last scorpion onto that cradle. So it's actually applying pressure, so it would not be bouncing. Currently we do not have a locking system.
Correct.
But if that would be a absolute requirement, I'm sure we could definitely look into something.
We might have discussed this previously, but can you recap the benefits to selecting a gas chassis over a diesel?
Yeah, so the question was, can you recommend, what are the differences, and can you recommend gas over diesel, or why we recommend gas? Again, these trucks aren't made for long haul. They're not over the road trucks. They're going to sit the majority of their life. You're going to have regen issues on any diesel chassis, no matter what you do. If it is an over the road truck or not, if you're putting 125, 150,000 miles on that diesel, it still needs regen regardless. The issues with this is it's going to have 15,000 miles on it in maybe 5 to 7 years. And with that amount of time and those low miles, you're really going to have to make sure you're doing that forced regen when it pops up. That's why we have recommended gas as a viable option. You're going to save about $8,000 in OE, your original equipment cost when you do buy the truck. It's got more filling stations, and it is a little bit cheaper to operate as well from a maintenance standpoint.
Another question is, have you had any trouble with DPF, EGR issues from the diesel units idling all day?
Well, go ahead.
Yeah, so the issue, or the question was, the DPF and the EGR issues, and Mark just kind of explained that a little bit as well. Is the diesel, with these diesel trucks, anything with the newer diesel trucks, they're not designed to sit there and just idle anymore. Back in the old days, you get to a job site, you'd start your diesel up. That machine would not shut down, whether it idled all day or not, until the day was over. These diesels can't operate like that anymore. They need to be ran hot. They need to be ran at high RPMs. Yep. In a crash attenuator setting, depending on the application that you're going in, if it's construction and you're using it more for just highway safety, if you're using it for cone deployment, if you're using to transport, some personnel or anything like that back and forth from the job site, they might be ran a little bit more. So you are getting those trucks up to higher temperature to do the burn off. If the truck's going to be sitting and you're just using it in the setup that we had it out earlier, where the truck's just sitting for an attenuator, to check mark that box of a requirement, you maybe look into a gas option, because you're not going to have those regen issues. I think whether it's a crash attenuator or even an F350 pickup truck, you're going to see regen issues.
Correct.
No matter what.
Yep.
The next question is, can attenuators be mounted on different types of trucks other than stake bodies?
So the question was, can attenuators be mounted on other types of trucks besides stake bodies? Yes, they can. There are requirements, of course. That 20,000 GVWR that we recommend, that laden weight, is still going to be a requirement. So if you're putting it on, let's say a 6-yard dump, typical 6-yard dumps are coming in a laden weight of like 15.6. The Scorpion and Aeroboard combo only weigh about 2,800 pounds, so you're still going to be short. So we would have to re-engineer or add that subframe somewhere on that 6-yard dump to add some weight, or you could put some material in the back of the bed. But typically it's a stake bed or a dump truck. I've seen or heard of them on water trucks. I don't recommend that at all, but we have seen it. But most commonly, if it's not on a stake, it's on a dump truck.
And to add a little bit to that, Mark, we do have another option if it is going on a dump truck. So you're probably wondering, if it's going on a dump truck, how are you dumping the dump truck with an attenuator on the back? So what it does is Scorpion Traffics makes a device. It's called a fast track system. So basically, it's a quick demountable attenuator on the back here. So the aero board and everything is mounted on the attenuator, and then basically what it is, it's 2 pins that you pull, and then you plug in a remote. And again, that's where those jacks would also come into play. Yep. If you were going to remove the attenuator, so then you could operate the dump truck as a dumping truck. So we have done it for clients. Yep. It all depends on the specs and the needs that they have. If it's something that you're going to be using the attenuator a lot on, I mean, it's probably more economical to just do a hard mount, but we do have the option for a fast track system if you wanted to mount it on a different application.
Correct.
The next couple questions are related to the aero board, talking about are the lights LED, and how many different patterns does the aero board have as light patterns?
So the question was on the aero board specifically, how many different patterns are on the aero board, as well as are the lights LED? Yes, the lights are LED, and there are 12 patterns on our standard box. I do believe Wanco offers an 18, and they do offer a programmable message board that you could have say different things, so you can use a message board as an aero board as well.
Okay, and you had talked about the solar panel supply. How many days does that supply the aero board energy to light it?
So the question was, is the solar panel that's currently powering the aero board, how long can we get out of that? So that's sort of it's hard to give you a full analogy or a full date or time on that, just because the way we've tested it is overnight. Most work is being done overnight, where the truck's being used, and then the next day, whether it's cloudy or overcast or sunny, the aero board's still charging. So if you're doing any type of work at night, you can definitely get through your entire shift. Say even with daylight savings time, if it starts getting dark around 4 or 5 and the sun's not coming out till 7 or 8 the next day, the aero board will still be operating.
Okay, great. Another question is, what warranty do you offer on crash trucks?
So the question was, what warranty do you offer on crash trucks? Right now, the Curry standard warranty, regardless of product line, is a 1-year warranty.
Those are all the questions that have come through. If you want to remind people, they have a couple more minutes to submit anything.
You do have a couple more minutes. That's all the questions we're showing right now, but feel free, please don't hesitate to ask while you have us here live, and can put Pat and I on the spot with a tough one. We're ready and willing. So
yeah, and just to remind you, we have water trucks, our 2,000 gallon and 4,000 gallon water trucks coming up here in I believe 11 o'clock Central Time, and then we have some other virtual events as well. Tomorrow we have a rental hour, which we're going to be talking about our more dominant product lines that we see that fit the rental industry that we can help you possibly with, as well as our 2K fuel lube, as well as our mechanics trucks.
You said I could drive up to 30 miles per hour with the TMA down. Does this apply to the aero board, or does that need to be down?
So the question is, we mentioned earlier in the demonstration that you can drive 30 miles an hour with the Scorpion down. To drive with the Scorpion down, the aero board has to be up. So you can't have the Scorpion down and the aero board in the stowed position, because the regulation states that for a Scorpion to be deployed, you have to have an aero board, a minimum. The bottom of the aero board has to be a minimum of 7 feet off the ground.
Questions. We can post links to our website, web pages about the crash truck and the cone trucks. We'll be putting those in the chat function too if you want to let people know. Okay, that's all the questions we have. We do appreciate your time. We are going to be posting links to our website, to the cone truck and the crash attenuator. Feel free to visit, ask questions on the website as well. We sincerely appreciate the time that you took out of your day to come and view and listen to Pat and I talk for a while. So we appreciate the time, and have a great day, and hopefully we'll see you in an hour to review the Curry water trucks.
Thank you, everyone.